Here we go with game number 2 between CLB and CZ, and it's, yeah, exactly as expected, it's going to be Arabia. Looking at the civilizations, we have pretty much a normal mirror of Mayans and Huns, so yeah, that's something that you'll be expecting. And I'm going to leave the Fog of War off to see if somebody is going to be attempting some stealing. CZs definitely do like to steal from their opponents, and well, we are going to be seeing if that's going to be anything that will be attempted in this game. We are so far looking at Ovenka, who is quite close to the wall, having pretty much safe stone and Piggy at the back with double hearts of the deer in here, which is definitely nice. And he's just now going to be discovering it with his eagle. So that's very nicely played, and quite lucky for him, of course, that he has chosen exactly this part, but he hasn't noticed actually the second hunt. That would have maybe made him actually mill it in here instead of milling the berries, but we are going to be seeing what he decides to do. But he has at least discovered the boar on the left, and the second one on the right is pretty much decent position as well, so we shouldn't be seeing all that much of a problems for him in the early game. Also Relic right on the outskirts of his base with the gold in pretty decent position because of the wood line, because it's going to be harder to raid and of course easier to wall about, for example from this promontory of the wood line in here to the top. Even though it's quite far away, it's still going to be manageable through houses, barracks and whatnot, so I don't expect that to be all that much of a problem. At the top, another gold and a stone. Pretty decent map for him overall. Easy to wall. And there, through the wall for you in here. Yeah, and that should be reasonably easy for him, so let's see. And looking at the relic placement, he definitely seems to be quite lucky. That's second and third relics for him, basically. With the fourth and fifth, oh my, all being right next to CZs. So yeah, that's not kind of fair for CLBs, but I don't really expect that relics should be deciding the game on a map like Arabia. So we are seeing that yellow is already moving into opponent's base, hoping that he can steal something because he has discovered everything that he needed to see. Right now seeing the deer, but the boars are still at large, and oh well, this could be stolen potentially. Oh, he just stopped short. He literally stopped short of it. That's like, oh, right now he could be seeing it. Let's see if he notices. Probably not, because why would he be looking back? That's not usually something that you do, but he has discovered his opponent quite fully, and he knows that he is there, and is he going to be annoying the Willy? Probably not. See that one of the bars has already been lured right next to the base, so he unfortunately probably missed it altogether. And if he hasn't looked back, yeah, that's going to be staying there, and that's not going to be easy for him to steal at all. Right now he was just standing there trying to look somewhere else, so yep. It seems like that Green actually will be catching a bit of a break, and he's going to be left with both of these boars, and not anyone else is going to be stolen by Ovenka. Looking somewhere else, we are also seeing that blue is advancing into the opponent's base, but where is the boar? Is it already under? There is one under the TC being butchered. The second one being at the bottom. Okay, so that's going to be pretty much safe and not really stolen at all. So it seems like that it's going to be pretty much the same for all 4 players in here. And with the second one right now already being lured in. That was kind of early. And I think it was basically for safety because he has seen that the Eagle Warrior from Openka was somewhere close by. So he was probably quite concerned that he might be attempting to steal it. So yep, that's pretty nicely played, and definitely going to ensure that he is not going to be the one stolen from. Ovenka, of course, finishing with the second boar, or is that the first one? The first one, the second one right now being lured in. Already working right now, you can see on the walls, so he's going to be basically using this part of the gold as part of his wall, as he's going to be exactly discovered by his opponent Gamin just now. We have also, of course, seen that it's going to be a proper mirror, as Mayans are going to be facing Mayans and Huns facing Huns, with a pretty nice long wall already being built just in here, using the gold as well. And, well, he better be careful, because he doesn't have any extra gold at the back, just the one in here, which could be wallable, looking at all the cliffs in here, so that could be better defensible than the one in the forefront. But if his opponent chooses like crossbowman raiding or archer raiding, this is of course not going to be safe at all, and since he is Han, he definitely will be needing quite a lot of gold for all the knights and such, maybe even cavalry archers in the castle age. Loom coming in for Skull. So far, clicking also into feudal age, but we don't really see any kind of drush attempt or anything. So that's going to be pretty much a standard build-up, it seems like, so yep. not much that you would be needing to talk about in here. Quite decent positioning of the mines, of course, both the stone and the gold. Pretty much as safe as they go. Basically all 4 mines in here. And the one in the forefront is not bad either. And it's almost looking either he's actually going to be milling those deer. 3 of them. He doesn't... Oh, he actually does have extras at the top as well. But this is really looking like that he's going to be switching into what? Into just some... Or is he going for something like Rush? Or no! Oh, he's actually building barracks. Oh my. Right next to his opponent. This is going to be quite aggressive. And I also see movement at the bottom as well. And that's, of course, that's because Drash is coming in from the Mayan. And is it Drash coming from his opponent as well? Well, yes, probably. I think that he has just seen it come in. Yeah, he has just seen it. And you can see also a lot of villagers coming in. So this is not looking like, oh yeah, electric. Oh my. It's actually absolutely the same. You can see at the top, it's going to be Skull going for a pretty aggressive build-up against his opponent. Whereas at the bottom, it's going to be Gamin trying to do the same against Ovenka. And let's see if his Rush is going to be effective against anything. Right now, it's basically get slaughtered. Because Green has reacted quite nicely with both the villagers and also the Eagle Warrior. So that's absolutely everything going to be dead pretty soon. Here. And not really any kind of villager dead. Seems like. Oh, or maybe this one. Come on, come on. Oh, that was close. That was close. Just 3 hit points left, and that means that the Trash didn't really do all that much. He just basically slowed down the economy a bit, but that's pretty much it. And we are already seeing really quite an aggressive build-up by Gamin himself, and it's going to be a bit of a problem because you can see that Ovenka is not walled at all, and he really needs to do something with finishing the wall around here, as that is not going to be easy for him to defend at all. You can see Archer's going to be coming up. With him coming Feudal Age, and yeah, he's already exactly expecting what's going to happen, and he will need to do this straggler, I think, expand the walls, and then to the next one, and basically, yeah, something like that protection, because this gold is quite crucial for the yellow player, as the next gold mine is somewhere far, far behind, which is not going to be safe at all either. Alright, so it's going to be a bit of a wall, or rather, tower in here on the wood line, as he's already in, of course, as the wall is not finished at the bottom. So yeah, that's not going to be safe wood line at all, and he will have to move somewhere else, but fortunately for him, he has one at the top as well, already going to be defended by the tower. If he can finish though, because the spearmen, together with the skirmishers, are going to be a bit of a problem for the red player, as of course they are quite close in here, and if he plays this carefully, he could deny the tower, but I think he's kinda giving up, as the skirmishers are having just too low attack, and they are not going to be effective all that much. Building the tower literally at the last, or rather at the furthest point of the wood line, but that's quite far away. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's going to be too far away, I think, but not in the bit later age. But since there are already quite a decent number of Scout Cavalry coming in, it's not going to be all that easy for Skull to deal with the problem at hand. He will definitely have to put up quite a lot extra than he is so far. Yeah, needs to be careful if the Lich is coming up as well. And with the tower, oh, just getting finished. Will it finish? Will it finish? Oh yeah, it does. It does. Oh well, that was quite nicely played. So unfortunately for it, this is going to turn into a pretty big disaster for him, because of course extra arrows are going to be flying from the tower due to the extra villages in. But unfortunately for blue, of course, he couldn't really supply enough of the extra army, so he's going to be losing the tower in the end to the villagers and to the scouts, and of course he's going to lose the villager as well. So in the end, not that much of a good idea, and the player at the bottom, the green one, is definitely doing a much better job than Skull is doing at the top. So that's interesting development, and definitely something that I think we weren't expecting all that much. You were expecting maybe that would be going the other way around, Skull doing better than Gamin, but most definitely not the case. So towers coming up, with the gold being denied, and Ovenka is pretty much in knee-deep trouble, exactly as we were saying, because there's not any extra gold mine for him. The one in the forefront is basically not safe for him at all, and he will have to rely on the one at the back. But I'm not sure if he actually even knows about it. He hasn't scouted there all that much, so he has absolutely no idea about the mine at the back. So he's going to be forced to remain with just skirmishers, I think. and Spearman or something like that. And he's even attempting to jump into Castle Age, but since it's not even allowed to build all that much of a blacksmith in here, yep, skirmishes are going to be coming up, and they are trying to basically take as much higher hill as they can. And well, they need to be careful because the position is not safe for them all that much. Even on the stone, exactly as it should be happening. From your opponent, whereas at the top we are seeing a bit of raiding going on from Kushluk onto green, or rather onto blue, and blue is not housed at all, or rather walled at all, which means that this one spearman, second one patrolling at the bottom, I'm fairly certain are not going to be enough against 6 scouts. So yeah, you definitely have to up your game quite a lot. In here though, are quite nicely positioned to defend the gold. But with just one spearman and one skirmisher, well, Kushluk definitely has quite a lot of chances to somehow control his opponent and put him out of the position in here. Trying to build a watchtower because he basically needs the stone in here. You can see that he's defending, or rather gathering stone from pretty unsafe placement at the top. And otherwise, needs to be careful because obviously the tower is quite good at getting rid of the villages in here. And right now, that's much better. That's much better just out of range, but unfortunately for the red player, there are at least a few units from the blue player, and he is seeming to be controlling this position quite decently so far. At the same time, he's of course not raided anymore, as he has been able to deal with the problem at hand. With a few scouts, and I can expect him through the TC fire as well, and otherwise extra tower build from the green player right next to gold mine in here, but unfortunately for him it's also under the fire from the watchtower of Ovenka as well, and that means that this is going to be coming down pretty soon, and it's almost looking like that actually green has kinda given up on Ovenka and is going to be advancing onto his ally at the top, which is definitely a pretty good idea, as it means that Ovenka is not going to be prepared for that kind of eventuality, and neither will be Skull, and Skull is going to be quite a lot more surprised than this, because he's having just a few spearmen to defend against scout cavalry from the red player, but nothing else to fight against archers and skirmishers, so this might have a pretty strong potential for quite a big disaster for CZs. Let's see. At the top, he's attempting to basically wall everything in. Quite unsuccessfully so far, it seems like, but with the one villager, one build right now, trying to finish with the wall, or rather with the tower, it's not going to be all that easy because he needs to be careful about the wall as well to repair it, and at the same time there's going to be another watchtower being built by Kushluk, so yep, this is not going to be safe at all from the blue player, and he basically will be forced to retreat from this position pretty soon. Tower forced to be built in his own base, but unfortunately you can see already huge damage done to the economy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like about at least 6 villages dead. That's a pretty huge number at this point, because you can see that Skull is dropped to 32 villagers, whereas Ovenka is 42 and his opponents are 44 and 40. So that's an absolutely huge blow, and Skull is in a pretty deep problems right now. You can see that he's already switched into rebuilding inside his own base and abandoning aggressive position and basically going for a lot more defensive stuff just about now with all the archers. Extra fire from the tower, this is definitely helping us. Gamin is unfortunately not paying enough attention in here, and it's basically going to be, I think, up to Ovenka to somehow deal with this situation, as of course Skull is basically limited right now what to do, and it's going to be in an attempt, you can see, to advance into Castle Age and then basically make up for the deficit that he's right now having by knights, which are going to be quite strong, and basically dealing with any kind of units that his opponents can be fielding just about now. With the army missing from this position of CLB Gavin, you can see that Ovenka is attempting to take advantage of that through building his watchtower, and that might be working quite nicely for him, because he's also developing at the bottom through some outposts, trying to see what is going to happen in there, and well, that's not a half bad idea. And he is attempting to take back the land, and mainly the gold, because without the gold he would be in a pretty tough situation overall. It's going to be quite nicely built watchtower to help him get rid of the tower from his opponent. Even though that's of course going to take quite some time. but with all the extra villages right now rather deposited in, it's going to be all that sooner dealt with than it might have been without that. In the blue space, of course, the troubles are continuing as he's still in pretty decent decline of his economy, but it also means the extra tower and the reinforcements here from his military buildings that, of course, Gamin is not going to be having all that easy time raiding him, and he will have to rely a bit more on the help of his teammate quite soon. Really? Like, really? The war is actually really not finished in here. Oh my god. Well, that could be pretty disastrous for the red player, of course, because he's not prepared for any kind of raiding at all. You can see, like, at all. So that's going to be quite easy to raid for the blue player with all the archers. And this is potentially a disaster waiting to happen, because even though Kushluk is also going in Castle Age, Botkinero with crossbowmen is already coming in for Skull. And well, once he finds all those archers, or rather all those farmers, oh my. I just need to be careful about the TC, but they're still quite... Oh, come on. Yep. That was quite nice thinking, actually, by Kushluk, because he wanted to finish with the palisade, which would force the blue player to go right next to the TC. That would mean some extra damage into all the crossbowmen, and that would be definitely helping him quite nicely. But that did not happen, and well, he has denied the economy quite nicely, as 15 villages of Kushluk's are already not gathering at all, and it means that the economy is basically the same for the blue player and the red one right about now. But needs to be careful about all those knights, of course, coming in just about now. Quite a lot of them. Whereas for blue, he is just now going home, and we are going to be waiting probably... I'm not sure for what. So far we don't see anything. We don't even see anything from the barracks. He's switching into cavalry archer, so he's going to be attempting to continue with the raiding. And basically, as right now, he's going to be losing all the crossbowmen due to the knights. It was expected just a bit earlier, as we have seen the number coming from the red player. Let's see how effective is he going to be with raiding, because there is still not a finished wall, and I'm kind of fairly certain that actually Kushluk thinks that it is finished, and he's not all that aware that there is a hole inside his base. The workshop right now being built by green. It's already in the castle, just Velasovenka was the last one to advance just about now, but is it going to be fast enough? I'm kind of thinking that it could be, because looking at the amount of crossbowmen from his opponent, Gamin, he's, oh yeah, going to be coming for the gold quite assuredly. And yet again, there are not any extra gold mines that Ovenka would be knowing about, and that's a pretty huge problem for him and his overall gameplay. He has absolutely no knowledge of the gold mine at the back, which makes it quite hard for him to play, as he needs to rely on this gold mine. It's to retreat just about now, of course, and well, Ovenka just now waiting here at the back with a whole lot of skirmishers, basically waiting to somehow go in for elite skirmishers just about now to corner and maybe a trap his opponent, because he's having a lot of crossbowmen, just a few skirmishes in there, and if he can somehow outmass him on that, that would definitely be a pretty big help for him. Oh, right, scratch that. Green is actually in pretty deep trouble, because there have been quite a huge army hidden inside Ovenka's buildings, and right now he's coming up, and let's see if Gamin is having Mangonel in the siege workshop. Yes, he does. And another one is going to be built with extra deployment of the archers in here as well. I'm kind of thinking that Mangonels are not going to be all that effective, because you can see that yellow is already using the spread formation, and even though Mangonel, oh, being repaired, that's quite nicely played. To kill the villages first, of course. But since he has all reinforcements from the second flank, this is going to be quite easy. And with all the villages dead, it's going to be Mangonel dead as well. And that's goodbye all the... Oh, that was a nice last hit. That means also quite decisively all the army from Gamin dead, and that's meaning like, or rather looking like, especially with the tower right now dead, and the castle quite nicely dropped by Ovenka, that Gamin is going to be forced to retreat from this position, and it's going to be up to Ovenka, as we have seen a lot earlier, to basically win this game, because at the top, even though Skull is trying to raid a bit with the cavalry archers, he's of course going to be facing quite a lot of knights, and that's not an easy battle to be had. Right now I'm kinda thinking that it would be the best idea for Skull to just keep Kushluk busy, but join with Ovenka to basically destroy his green opponent. Since Ovenka is right now going to be quite decently switching into blue archers without any kind of problems, Gamin is deep in trouble, going for a second TC in his home base, and since he's wide open without any kind of walling, he's just basically prepared. Just basically prepared for the cavalry archers from the blue player, and yeah, that could be quite deadly for him overall. That's going to be quite easy to rate on the gold and everything. There is just trying to clean up the red player with the blue one's towers, and otherwise not much happening. Just Skull raiding around in here, trying to finish with a second. Already 30C. Already 30C, trying to get back on his feet, and he's definitely back on his feet, as he's at 56 villages already. And if you remember, he was like 10 behind his opponents, and right now he's almost 5 above Kushluk. So that's definitely a nice comeback from him. And Kushluk somehow missed the opportunity to apply pressure to his opponent, and that's of course going to be quite a big problem for him, as he's going to be paying for that, as the number of cavalry archers for Skull is growing. And well, you can see there's going to be some kind of sneak build at the back, with the villager coming in. It's going to be another tower maybe? Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Definitely a pretty good spot for a tower at the back. No, yeah, he's going exactly at the same spot. Exactly the same spot with yet another tower, and looking at Kushluk, who sees it. He can see it. Oh man, that's a bit of a shame, because that Skull actually gave it up with the palisade walls, but at the same time, it's not going to be all that easy to notice for him. It's almost looking like that he's not noticing at all. Yeah, and the tower is probably going to be finished, so that's going to be pretty disastrous for him. And it's almost looking like that even through the nights, the cavalry archers are going to be a bit better with the hit and runs. Let's see. That's going to be a nice hit from the Mangonel. Not the second one, of course. But a lot of kind of half-dead knights if you have a look at this. And that's of course meaning that the cavalry archers are going to be having all that much easier time getting rid of them in bulk. And that's something that Red should be aware about, rather aware of. As of course, once that happens, he's going to be losing the army basically too fast to replenish it. And that could be water under the mill for Skull. Let's see. At the bottom, we are also seeing that Ovenka is already moving into offensive. Yeah, right now it is going to be exactly what we expected. So let's switch at the bottom, with Castle being dropped quite offensively on his opponent. And yeah, you can see that this is just going to be a bit of a cleaning up of the buildings of Gamin, even though he's having something hidden in there. Oh no, Gamin. That's the green player. Quite a decent amount of crossbowmen and few skirmishes actually. It's not half bad for him, so Ovenka should be careful. And with all the... oh, this is close. With the Mangonels coming in, it's looking almost like he actually could have stopped the castle with some lucky shots. But unfortunately for him, the yellow player was having enough army in here, and with the castle finished, we are probably going to be seeing... going for the gold. I was maybe expecting some siege workshop. So far not happening. But he's probably going to be happy with what he has, because his opponent is quite wide open for any kind of raiding from the right side, for example. So let's see if that's going to be enough for Ovenka, or if he's going to be switching maybe into... Imperial Age. Exactly, he's switching into Imperial Age, so he's hoping that he's going to be left with trebuchets, and they are going to be enough to get rid of enemy defenses. Yet another town center being built at the top for Kushluk, as he's basically right now going to be owning his opponent, because he has deleted most of the knights from his opponent and going for siege workshop. So yeah, he's definitely eating into his opponent and hoping that he can finish the game sometime soon. He definitely can, because the raiding is still quite possible. There are not many opportunities for stopping the onslaught. As you can see, that Kushluk is not really paying enough attention to walling or such. There is still the wide open route at the bottom. But otherwise, the tower has been finished at the top, forcing his opponent both of the gold and of the wood line in here, which is here again a pretty big problem. With the gold right now being basically just at the bottom and quite open for the raiding, but he needs to be careful, Skull, as facing skirmishers with cavalry archers, especially on top of the hill. Yeah, that's not usually a good idea overall. Red attempting to raid a bit, but unfortunately has been noticed quite well by Skull with quite a decent army of cavalry archers, doing a pretty good job at that. And at the same time, at the bottom, we are seeing that yellow is basically finishing, finally, some siege workshop units like Mangonel in here. We have also seen that a bit earlier with the buildings inside the base. And we are also, oh, that's interesting. And these units are all the units that were actually hidden inside the green buildings in here that we have seen a bit earlier. And well, he's attempting to basically join his ally at the top, push look and do a bit of raiding on the blue player. Elevate the pressure that blue is right now having on his opponent. So nicely played. Finally joining with at least some rams. And they will outlaws, of course, be quite nicely taking all the damage from the skirmishes. So I'm kind of thinking that it's looking very well for Skull, especially since he's advancing into Imperial Age. At the bottom, we see finally the trebuchets coming in for Ovenka as he's getting rid of all the Mangonas and all the military buildings. And since Gamin is going into Imperial Age, the battle is still not over. But he needs to rebuild somewhere. At the back, you can see he's switching into barracks, so he's going to be switching into Eagle Warriors pretty soon. And go into Siege Workshop right here as well. Scale mail armor, basically confirming that the Eagle Warriors are going to be coming in. Some extra archer ranges with all the siege in here, so yeah, it's going to be reasonably easy for Skull to get rid of, because there is not really all that much of an extra army that he should be all that worried about. Just early skirmishes together with a few knights, and looking at how the economy is quite strained for Kushluk, it seems like. Even though he is at 84 villages, he's probably having a bit of problems with the gold. And especially would be his Skull was raiding quite a lot more effectively into him. Leather archer armor for Skull, so it seems like that he's going to be sticking to the cavalry archers even in the Imperial Age, not switching into knights. But yeah, this is important to get rid of the town center, and the second one as well, to basically prevent his opponent from getting extra stone on the castles, which seems to be the defense right now that is attempted by Kushluk. Even the market from the blue player at the top. Another castle, pretty important spot, covering the gold, which is actually very important. Quite a decent amount of idols, unfortunately, in Kushluk's base in there. And well, looking at the position in here, it's basically just a question of time before Skull is going to be able to finish with his opponent. But looking at the bottom, Wenka is already having a pretty decent amount of plumed archers, and with trebuchets he's getting rid of all the extra buildings in here, and unfortunately he needs to be a lot careful because the Eagle Warriors are already going to be elites with chainmail armor pretty soon, and they are going to be coming for the trebuchets, and of course together with the rams they are going to be a pretty decent counter to all the units that actually right now Ovenka can be spamming. But if he can spam enough plume touches, it's of course going to be enough, but at the same time the ability of a Mayan to spam elite Eagle Warriors is equally strong. And could be a pretty big problem for that pretty soon, but you already see the GG's gold, and well, that's basically the response to Yamin losing all the units just about now, and with all the reinforcements coming in, there wouldn't be much that he could be doing against this. Same could be said at the top, where basically Skull is owning absolutely everything with the combination of cavalry, archers and rams, and his opponent is not having any kind of luck defending against that. So even though it looked quite quite bad at one moment for both Evanka and Skull, quite nice aggressive play in the feudal age from Gamin and Kushluk, in the end they were able to prevail with a bit of luck maybe, of course quite a lot of skill, and they are victorious in the second game, and of course in the whole match 2-0 overall. Let's check into the achievements. And looking at this, well, yeah, it's not really surprising, or maybe it is. I would be expecting that Ovenka would be having slightly higher score because he was of course playing, I'm not going to say better, he was having more of a game, that's better said, and he wasn't all that heavily rated as Skull, because Skull was at one point in pretty deep trouble. He was having a lot of idols, lost quite a lot of villagers, was put like water behind all the other players, but he was able to overcome that. And unfortunately, CLBs weren't able to apply enough pressure to take advantage of that moment. That definitely was a moment to kill Skull. But that is why CZs are experts. That also mirrors in the fact that they are able to survive even pretty tough situations. And in the end even come up as the strongest player. Here you can see quite long actually fights in Feudal Ages and Castle Ages. Quite late Imperials. 40 minutes plus, all of them. Besides Ovenka. Well then, GG. GG.